chiefs and councils, that is the band government of First Nations in Canada, there's over 600 First Nations in Canada, each have broad areas of legal jurisdiction, roughly divided into three areas, that is on-reserve band governance and administration, secondly economic development, and thirdly responsibility for managing the constitutional affairs of the band, that's treaty rights and Aboriginal rights. Right now I'm just going to talk about the first category, that is on-reserve band management and administration, which is the sort of day-to-day work of a band council and their administrator. The legislative powers of a First Nation are often called the Indian Act powers, although they're much broader than simply that. The Indian Act powers include legislative jurisdiction under a number of sections of the Indian Act that still continue, sections 20, 81, 83, 85, etc. Those authorities to pass bylaws and make laws on reserve have always been there, and they're quite extensive. They include all of the jurisdiction that you'd expect of an ordinary local government or municipality, such as zoning, health, public safety, that kind of thing, that every municipality has. But in addition, First Nations have much broader powers than the local municipality, because it includes matters such as fisheries, for example, which would normally be federal, and wildlife management, which would normally be reserved to the provinces, and management of the land base itself, which is a huge area of legislative jurisdiction of First Nations. And in addition to the Indian Act, I should say, it has largely been supplemented or augmented by other statutes of Canada that are opt-in, that is optional statutes that First Nations one by one can adopt across Canada at their wish. Not just control over membership, but control over land, such as in the First Nations Land Management Act, control over their finances and taxation under the First Nations Financial Administration Act, and a number of other statutes that provide for a complex set of individualized legislative jurisdictions that differ from each First Nation to the other. So there is no cookie cutter, but you can generalize that First Nations have much broader legislative jurisdiction than any municipality. And in addition to that, the band government has responsibility for operation of program spending. That is, they have their own funds to manage, and of course they deal with program funding from Canada and the provinces and other levels of government and other organizations where they operate huge programs with respect to education, health, welfare, etc. And that is another area of jurisdiction of local band government that is governed by law and that is complex. And in order to do all of that, chiefs and councils have to operate like any government. They have to hire and fire staff and maintain the operation in a way that accomplishes those legislative mandates and objectives. And that sounds like a huge project. It is. It is an enormous project, much bigger, I should say. To be a chief of a First Nation is a much bigger job than being the mayor of a municipality. There's no doubt about that. But First Nations also have two other huge areas of jurisdiction, that is economic development and protection of their constitutional rights, which I'll talk about at another time. But you add those three things together and you see that being the chief or a councillor of a First Nation in Canada is one of the most complex and demanding political jobs in Canada, perhaps the toughest political job in Canada, and worthy of our respect, because these people that take on that job take on a big project and a very worthy project. Thank you.